What's going on, FA Nation? It's time for another edition of Fantasy Alarms Sports Talk. I'm your host, Jen Piacenti, and with me today is Adam Ronis. Adam, what's going on this Thursday?
What's going on? Another busy Thursday, NBA, NHL, baseball, NFL opt-out, so it stays busy as always.
Love it. Absolutely. So, of course, if you guys didn't know, we're coming up on the NFL opt-out deadline. It is 4 p.m. Eastern time. So during the course of this live stream, if we get any news, we're going to stop and address it. Obviously, the main person we're keeping an eye on right now is star cornerback Tre'Davious White for the Buffalo Bills. But so far, no official word as to whether or not he's opting out. If he does opt out, Adam, how much does this affect how you view the Bills defense and even the Bills season?
I mean, it would be a big loss for him. I mean, he takes the opponent's number one wide receiver away. I still think they'll be a good defense, but certainly, having a top corner that you don't have to worry about that side of the field taking him out definitely hurts.
Yeah, it does. So we'll keep an eye on that for you guys. As you know, the biggest news, of course, was Damian Williams last week. A few more Miami Dolphins receivers. We've lost Allen Hurns and
Albert Wilson.
Yes. We still have Preston Williams and we still have Devontae Parker. So just a few things going on there. So we'll keep an eye on that. And later in the stream, we're going to break down a little bit of our fantasy alarm mock. But I'm going to jump over to baseball because baseball's happening right now. And as we speak, the Twins are being the Twins and just out slugging everyone. Actually, the Pirates are giving them a bit of a run for their money today. Looks like it's a lot of fun there. So I want to know, Adam, what are you doing? Like, how are you doing in your leagues? I finally dug out of last place in our league, and it looks like you're all the way up to second place. What's so crazy to me is how far you can swing just from day to day this year. I mean, it can be like 12-point swings sometimes.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I had a really good day yesterday offensively in that league, and 2 wins and 2 good pitching performances. So that swings you up the standings in a major way, especially if you're getting 2 wins. And a save that could really move you up a ton in one given day. So actually, most of my leagues now, it looked kind of bad for a while, but I'm in first in labor, second in our league, second in another league, third in my home league, and 6th in TGFBI and 7th in Tout. So not too bad so far, but as you know, we could talk tomorrow and I could say 3 of those teams at the bottom. So it's just the difficult part is just trying to get at bats. It looks like the Cardinals and Tigers will resume play tomorrow. But I've had Josh Donaldson in my lineup all week, and he's out again today. I've had Mookie Betts in the lineup. I know he came into the game last night, but he hasn't had an at-bat this week. So, that's the biggest issue right now is the injuries. Joe Adele got scratched from the lineup today with quad soreness. So, there's just a lot of injuries going on. And losing those at bats, especially in a weekly league, it hurts.
Yeah, a couple of bigger injuries in the last couple of days. Scherzer left the game after 1 inning yesterday. It looks like it's just a hamstring tweak, but I just don't feel comfortable at all with how these pitchers are handling this season, like physically. And I'm bummed that this is happening to Max. Kluber's now out till September. Rich Hill's out for another few days. So let's talk about a few pitchers that maybe people can still capitalize on. One thing that's really surprising me, and this is what's so crazy about 2020, couple pitchers yesterday that could have really helped you, Dallas Kykel and Alex Cobb, because it's 2020. But these are 2 guys that maybe you want to go ahead and put on your roster. It was a tough luck loss for both of them, but Alex Cobb went 5 innings with 7 strikeouts. That's a rate of 12.5 strikeouts per 9. He has an ERA of just over 2.5 for the season. What's your feeling on Alex Cobb? Is this someone we should go ahead and target if he's out there on the waiver wire?
Maybe in 15-team leagues, I think there's still some concern. He has 6 walks over his last 9 innings, and that's going to be a problem against better offenses. He went against Miami, who just came back, and they're playing well, but they haven't been hitting at all. So, I do have.
Yeah, but better offenses like what? Like the Red Sox, they suck. The Tampa Bay Rays suck all of a sudden. So really, I would just worry if he was versus the Yankees right now. The Baltimore Orioles are in second place.
I think Tampa Bay will get better. For sure.
I hope so.
He's got Austin Meadows back. I think that's going to help the lineup. So, the first time around, sure. But, I think you're playing the matchups at this point with a guy like Cobb.
I don't know. I think it's too hard to predict the matchups. I don't know that we have the luxury of matchups. We don't have Corey Kluber. We don't have Justin Verlander. We're so short. But I went ahead and put a claim in for him in my deeper leagues again. That's a 15-team league, so we are talking deeper leagues. We're not talking 12-team leagues. But he's been striking them out, which has been pretty cool. Another really big surprising one to me, Dallas Keuchel. Dallas Keuchel went 7 innings yesterday and struck out 8. That probably matches a career high because he is not a strikeout pitcher. He's a contact ground ball pitcher. And he again took the tough luck loss 1-0 versus Milwaukee, ERA of just over 2.5. For me, Keuchel's a bigger target than Alex Cobb, simply because I think he might also get more wins. But he doesn't usually get you strikeouts. But hey, if maybe he can. One of the things I like about Dallas Keuchel is his durability. There's very few pitchers right now that look in shape to go 7 innings, so I'm not as concerned about Kykel getting injured as some of the others. What are your feelings on Kykel?
Yeah, I just don't. You won't get a lot of strikeouts. The Brewers are just a mess offensively right now, and Christian Yelich didn't play in that game. Not that he's doing anything either.
We're going to talk about that next.
But yeah, I mean, I think he's definitely a guy you can look at, especially since he'll get some of Kansas City and Detroit, and he's an extreme ground ball pitcher, and he's got a good offense to back him. So he already has 2 wins in his 3 starts. So yeah, I think Keuchel's definitely someone you could look at. Just keep in mind you won't get a lot of strikeouts.
Right. Would you do Kykel over Cobb?
Yes.
Yeah, I would too. I actually got Kykel at the end of our draft in the snake part. And I was expecting not to use him, but he's been one of the better starters for me. If you guys missed, we had Jesus Luzardo Day announcement on Tuesday. He had an absolute fantastic debut, 5 innings of shutout ball. Again, he was pitching versus Lance Lynn. They did win the game, but he didn't get the win, unfortunately, but he was pretty phenomenal. Pretty exciting start for Jesus Luzardo. What do you think about Lance Lynn? Is this for real?
Yeah, he's definitely for real. I mean, we saw it last year for an entire season. He was really good. He's definitely someone I was looking to get in my drafts. I just didn't get any shares. I mean, he was one of the few guys that went 200 innings last year, won 16 games. We know this Texas park looks more like a pitcher's park, and he keeps the ball on the going out of the park. I mean, last year was the year where everyone was allowing home runs. He allowed less than a home run for 9 innings last year. So yeah, Lance Lynn definitely for real.
Yeah, it's pretty cool to see actually when a pitcher comes later in their career and starts to really have a resurgence, if you will. I've actually been betting the under on almost every Texas Rangers game, and it's been working out for me. Because that park does look like a pitcher's park, and they've been facing the Luzardo Lance Lynn game. I took the under. It felt like an easy win for me.
And their offense sucks. It's so bad. Yeah.
They stink. Any concern about Christian Yelich? He's batting .088 with 1 home run on the season. I have Christian Yelich. Okay, we were just talking a moments ago about how you can have a big point swing. There's a certain amount of patience you still have to have with fantasy baseball. To me, Christian Yelich is someone you're required to have patience until the very end. Unless it's the last few weeks and you're really making a run, you have to hold. But are you concerned at all about Yelich?
I mean, if this happened in mid-July, we really wouldn't talk about it. It would be just a 8-game slump. But obviously, since it's early in the year and the season is only 2 months, and you look up and you see 088, it's more glaring. So I have Yelich in at least 3 leagues. Maybe 4, but I do have him quite a bit, so I'm just going to keep him in there. And I expect him to turn it around and be the player that he was, unless he's hiding an injury and playing through it. But there doesn't seem to be any indication of that, so I'll just continue to run him out there.
Yeah, same for me. I hope he at least steals. Couple of other notable injuries this week. Nick Madrigal just came up already. It looks like it's a separated shoulder. Could be a few weeks. Ozzie Albies out for a little bit as well. So a couple second basemen there that you may need to look at replacing at least temporarily. Any second baseman you would target?
Trying to think of off the top who would be available.
I don't know if Starlin Castro would be available. He might be in some leagues. You don't think so?
Not in a 15, maybe in a 12 he is.
What about Tommy La Stella?
I don't think he's available in a 15 team either. He might be in a 12. Jonathan Scope maybe in a 15.
Jonathan Scope maybe in a 15.
Up there.
Yeah, Tony Kemp.
He doesn't play enough.
I'm grasping. But I would probably get a guy with positional flexibility if you could just for the week or two. If you have one that has
maybe Chris Taylor, but you got to worry about the at-bats.
Yeah, you do. So anyway, a couple second basemen there to worry about. I want to know which player on your roster has surprised you the most.
In a good or bad way?
In a good way. In a good way. I would say in a bad way for me, it's Christian Yelich. I'll just lead with that. And people might say it would be Alex Bregman for me, but it's not. A lot of people are making a big deal about the fact that Bregman's off to a slow start. Bregman is always off to a slow start. He's never had a major league season where he comes out hot. It's always in the second half of the season. You kind of know that going in. Of course, the question is it the physical date or is it that it's the second half? Don't worry about Alex Bregman. He'll heat back up. And that Houston offense is just, they can still hit. They can't pitch. They're a mess. But they can still hit. Bregman will be fine. So Christian Yelich is the one that's disappointed me the most. But who's surprised you the most?
I would say Nicholas Castellanos, but he's not surprised me because I thought he was going to be really good. I have him as top 15 outfielder going into the year, and I paid $25 for him in our auction. So I would say this guy's not a surprise to me, but I know you were down on him, Fernando Tatis. I have him on one of my rosters. He's crushing it, man.
Yeah, he is.
Up right where he left off last year. He's got 11 runs, 4 homers, 13 ribbies, 4 steals. I'll say Dansby Swanson, even though I liked him a lot.
Still bad.
Yeah, I have him in a couple leagues, and it's just I couldn't get him in everything. Shortstop's so deep, and it felt like there were times where I didn't have a spot for him because I already drafted a shortstop and a middle infielder. But I knew he'd be good because we saw it last year. He really got hurt. Once he got hurt last year, his splits were terrible. I had written about it because I was doing the shortstop positional preview for Fantasy Alarm. And I had mentioned about that Swanson was on his way to a breakout, and then he got hurt. He came back, and he didn't hit a home run after he came back. So he clearly was never 100%. And now he gets a boost, too, with Ozzie Albies on the injured list. It looks like he's going to hit second a lot. It's a great spot to be in front of Freddie Freeman. So I thought he would be good, but for him to be hitting .314 with 10 runs, 2 homers, 13 RBIs, and 3 steals, I'd say, that's a little bit of a surprise.
A little bit. He carried my fantasy team for like the first half of last year before he got injured. He was again a free pick, like a snake draft pick. So I think he went pretty late this year too. So that's a big surprise for me. It's Mike Taucman, who's someone I was like, I'll take him. He's talented. He plays for the Yankees. I'm probably just going to drop him in a week. He's stolen 3 bases and he's batting .357. I don't think anybody expected Mike Taucman to be like the speed demon. So I'm completely happy with that. Meanwhile, Trey Turner, maybe I should say Trey Turner is the one that's disappointed me the most. 0 bags, friends, 0. And I was kind of, when we went to this shortened season, I was kind of in the camp of don't spend a lot of money on specialists, because if they let you down in that one category, you're going to be really PO'd and it's going to hit you everywhere. But this is from a team that I drafted in March before we had shut everything down. So I thought, hey, I'm going to spend money on Trey Turner because over the course of the season, I think I'm going to get the speed. So if I were to redraft that team, I wouldn't have taken Trey Turner. And now here I am.
I am not a big Trey Turner fan. I never draft him. I feel like everyone always kind of, expects him to put up this, 20 homer, 50 stolen base season, and it just doesn't happen. So shortstop also being a deep position and where you have to take Turner, in a national overall tournament like the NFBC, I see it more because you want those steals. And if he ever does have that 50, 60 stolen base season, it gives you an advantage. But in a standalone league, I don't think you need to win the stolen base category. You just need to be competitive. So that's why I never take Turner. For a guy that goes in the first round, he's never had more than 73 RBIs. Like, I want RBIs out of a guy I'm taking in the first round because most of the RBIs come from the hitters that hit 3 and 4 in the order. And you're just not going to get many of those guys later in the draft. So I feel like if you take Turner, you have a nice floor in stolen bases, but you're chasing RBIs and you're chasing a little bit of power. The guy's never hit more than 19 home runs in a season. He had 19 home runs last year, and I know he missed time. And that's the other thing with Turner. He's missed time every year except one. He played 162 games in 2018. Every other year, he's missed time. So I understand, but people are paying for the upside of 20 homers, 50 steals when he hasn't done it. So that's my problem with Turner.
So speaking of 50 bag season, as a Mets fan, how do you feel about Billy Hamilton?
Not good at all. I mean, to me, he's basically someone that's going to come in late in games as a pinch runner. I don't think he gets much playing time. Obviously, the Mets are a little banged up right now with Cano going on the injured list. McNeil sat, Rosario sat.
No Cespedes.
Yeah, opted out. So I don't expect Hamilton to do much. I think he's more, even though he got the start yesterday, I think he's more the guy that they pinch run with late in the game. We've seen them quite a bit when they've had the lead, which hasn't been often lately, take J.D. Davis out for defense. Although they played him at third yesterday. He made a great play. So it seems like they might actually put him at third and move McNeil to the outfield. So I just don't see Hamilton getting a ton of playing time to be fantasy relevant.
What about Dom Smith? Is he going to get more time?
Yeah, definitely. That's the guy that I would pick up. I added him in Tout Wars last week, and I got outbid on him. In a couple of other leagues, I was hoping to get him in our league, but I got outbid. Yeah, I think the Mets need to see this guy. You know, we saw glimpses last year when he got the opportunity to play. He was really good. Just let this guy play. He actually leads the team in RBIs with 7 in 8 games, and he only has 25 plate appearances. You know, he draws some walks, so in OBP leagues, which Tout Wars is, that's a boost. And then also in that league, he has first and outfield eligibility. So, yeah, I think Dominic Smith's a good pickup.
What are your thoughts on the closer situation in New York? Do you think it's, are they going to be using Lugo regularly, or is that just a stopgap until Diaz comes back? Are they going to rotate who gets the saves? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think they're going to rotate. They got 7 innings from Porcello yesterday. I'm not sure why they didn't put him out there for the 8th, especially with the way the Mets bullpen was. He was cruising. He was, I think, 78 pitches. I thought they should have left him in. But Lugo obviously came in and got the 6 outs. The thing is, I could see them bringing Lugo in the 7th in a tight situation as well. So I don't know if he's going to get every save opportunity, but we knew going into the year he was going to be a valuable reliever regardless. I was able to get in one league. Unfortunately, it's a weekly league, so it's kind of difficult to decide, especially when I have a couple other closers like Melancon and Neris in that league. It's kind of difficult trying to decide when to put him in. But if you're at a daily league, yeah, Lugo's very, very valuable, and he'll get some saves.
Yeah.
Diaz did have a scoreless inning the other day, but I don't know if they're ready to put him in a high leverage situation yet.
I have Lugo in a couple leagues, and what I like about him is not only will he get saves, but as you mentioned, a lot of times they'll bring him in the 7th for long relief. He can easily end up with wins as well, which is just such a weird category.
2 innings and 4 strikeouts.
Yeah. So over the course of the week, they put him in 2 to 3 times, and you've got a great starter. So you can consider him in weekly leagues as well for that reason. I did play him in a weekly league last week. But yeah, I prefer him in daily. I have him in our league actually. So he's been great for me, especially yesterday. That helped to dig me out of a hole. So, all right, we'll stop with the MLB talk. We'll go over to NFL. Last week we did our Fantasy Alarm mock draft. And these things change every day. If you go and you look at the evaluator every day, it's going to tell you a different person is leading because everything changes from day to day. Our projections change. And that's one of the great things about Fantasy Alarm. If you go to Fantasy Alarm and get our draft kits, you're going to get all these tools. And you can also see for free, you don't even have to buy the draft kit, this mock draft that we did. Right now it's projected that Andy Spiteri will win. But as Adam and I have told you over and over again, you don't win with your draft. You win with how you manage your team. So you want to do the best draft you can to have the best start that you can. But it is about management. But let's go ahead and talk about our approaches to this team. We both had crummy spots. I was in the 10 and you were in the 12. So tell me a little bit about your start.
Yeah, I mean, I've done a couple drafts now at 12, and actually my teams have not really turned out that bad. In the Super Flex League I did last week, I picked 12, and I actually was pretty pleased with the way my team turned out. I came out with 2 running backs in that one. This one, went running back, receiver. A couple of the running backs I wanted didn't make it, so wound up going with Kenyon Drake on the turn. And then Devontae Adams, who I think could be the number one receiver this year. Obviously, I have Michael Thomas ranked one, but Devontae Adams is going to get a ton of value. He's got a great rapport with Aaron Rodgers. He had 3 straight years of double-digit touchdowns before last year where he was injured. He had a target share of over 30% in the last 8 games of the year. He was crushing it in the playoffs. So I felt like I had to take the best player on the board at that point, and not worry about my second running back. I just didn't love any of the running backs there for that draft price. And then I came back on the 3-4 turn and took Adam Thielen, another receiver who I think is going to get heavy volume this year with no Stephon Diggs, and Justin Jefferson's a rookie, and Thielen could get 140, 150 targets. We've seen it before. So, and then from RB2, I took Jonathan Taylor in round 4, and it might take him some time with Marlon Mack there, but I think eventually he's going to be the guy. I mean, I think he's that good. They have a great offensive line, and they traded up to get him in the second round. You just don't see teams do that nowadays and have that guy relegated to a backup role. So maybe the lack of offseason activities, preseason, maybe it takes a couple weeks, but I think Jonathan Taylor eventually gets going. And then, as I usually do, went heavy receiver with Terry McLaurin and Tyler Lockett. So I love the 4 receivers that I have.
Yeah, I do too. I think they're amazing. I love those receivers. I was on Alarm After Hours last week with Jim Bowden, and he commented that he noticed that both you and I didn't take a backup quarterback or a backup defense. He did. He's actually projected right now to finish ahead of us, but I think we should address this. Adam and I are both of the mindset that in a 1 quarterback league, you don't need to take a second quarterback. You don't need to take a second defense. You can stream that. You can probably still get Gardner Minshew for that week. There's no reason to do that when you can pick up another skills position player that's going to have a much higher ceiling for you. Maybe you can pick up an Antonio Gibson at that point, or someone like that could end up really going off. That's how you feel too, right? Adam, do you want to explain why you don't take a second quarterback or a second defense?
Yeah, the only time I'll take a second quarterback if it's a 20-round draft, or obviously best ball. I mean, I think that goes without saying. But if it's a redraft league and we're playing it out, and that's how I drafted this, there's always going to be quarterbacks on the waiver wire. I mean, in this league, not everyone took a backup quarterback, and there's definitely plenty of quarterbacks available off the waiver wire if something should happen. I'll never have 2 defenses on my team. It's a waste. There's always going to be a defense you can go stream. I don't even know why he took a backup defense. To me, it doesn't make any sense at all. The only time, again, I'll have 2 defenses is if it's best ball, or in the high stakes leagues, they lock the waiver wire after week 13. Right. So if I have a defense and I don't like 1 or 2 of the matchups for week 14, 15, 16, I'll find a matchup for, say, for example, the week 15, they face the Chiefs. I'll look at the defenses available. All right, who has a good matchup in week 15, and maybe add that since the waiver wire locks. But and I've said this for a long time, especially when you're drafting early, like there's no need to take a backup quarterback. I'd rather, and especially in these times too with COVID-19, I'd rather have a backup running back on my roster that potentially can work their way into a starter's role or a bigger role in the offense. And if it doesn't work out and it doesn't happen, you just move on to the next one. But I just don't see the need, especially when you have Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Russell Wilson, Dak Prescott. You're not benching those guys. There's like rare opportunity that you're going to say, yeah, I'm going to sit the guy this week.
So, just for the bye week.
Yeah, you just
pick someone up for that week. Yeah.
So I never do it.
The first person to take a defense was Jim. He took the 49ers in round 13. I noticed in the flex draft last week that, I think it was the flex drafts, one of the drafts, Jake Seeley took the 49ers in the 3rd round. So what is
the 3rd round? No.
Yes. I literally thought, is he trolling us?
No, I think it was, I think he was in the auction. That's why. So the way it was listed, it probably looked like.
Was as the 3rd round? Maybe? Yeah. Maybe that's how it is, but they didn't have dollar values next to it, so that's problematic. They should fix that.
He was in the auction for sure. So.
Okay, good. Then that makes a lot more sense to me. But my question to you is, how early would you take a defense, and how much would you spend on one?
I wouldn't spend more than $1. because again, they're going to be, even the top defenses they're going to have down weeks. So I wouldn't spend maybe $2 if it came down to it, but I'm definitely not spending a lot. And I usually wait till the last 2 rounds. I mean, if it's an 18-round draft and I never do it, but I could see going round 14 or 15, but I just never do it because I wind up streaming quite a bit. And a lot of times the top defenses that we project don't work out that way. So, and there's always a few that surprise that you can get off the waiver wire. So I'm just not going to do it. I'd rather take a shot on a receiver, a running back, or a backup tight end that can play a significant role for me. We just see it oftentimes. You can stream defenses.
Yeah, and I think even just our ideas of what defenses are going to change a lot even the next day or two with more opt-outs. There's just a lot of people opting out, and a lot of because we draft defenses as a whole. I mean, like, look at the Patriots. Like, that team as a whole is pretty, that was somebody that you'd think that would be a high defense to have, or it's all going to change. We just don't know how it's going to go down, so it's not worth spending a lot of draft capital, in my opinion. We agree on that. I'll tell you how I started mine. So I was in the 10 spot. Every single person before me took a running back, and this was right after the Damian Williams opt-out. So Clyde Edwards-Helaire went at the 6th pick to John Mpemba. So when it got to me, Michael Thomas was still there. And I don't care how much you have to have a running back. I get it. I had to have Michael Thomas. I wasn't going to pass on Michael Thomas. He was just such a good player. This is a PPR league. And I knew that I would probably be able to still get Austin Eckler or Josh Jacobs because Chubb and Drake were there. I knew they were going to go next, and which is exactly what happened. Chubb went, you took Drake, and then you paired him with Devontae Adams, who is arguably the other best receiver. I actually have him on my predictions as the one that will finish number 1 for this year, even though I consider Michael Thomas the better one to draft right now. And then Tyreek Hill went, and then I got my guy, Austin Eckler. So I was perfectly happy with that. Then in round 3, I did something a little different. I went ahead and got Mark Andrews. He's Lamar Jackson's favorite target. And I thought, hey, why not create some separation at that position? And then I came back and got Todd Gurley round 4. When it came to round 3, it was like, what am I going to do? Take David Montgomery? I'm lukewarm on him. Melvin Gordon. I wanted to get Mark Andrews, and I still was able to get Todd Gurley, who, if he's healthy, will be fantastic. So I didn't feel like there was enough separation between round 3 and 4 at the running back position as there could be potentially at the tight end position, because there's a pretty big drop off after the first few tight ends. And then I got my first share of Dak Prescott because I needed it. I hadn't had it yet. That's the earliest I've taken a quarterback and a 1 quarterback. And then I decided just to be a total homer, and because he's kind of my guy this year, I stacked him up with Michael Gallup. So maybe a little early for that, but lots of fun. And then Tevin Coleman, John Brown, Zach Moss, Brandon Ayuk, Michael Pittman, Tony Pollard, lots of people that are dart throws that could be league winners if they happen to have a great season.
Yeah, so do you look to pair up your quarterback with a receiver, or it just happened?
I do sometimes like to pair up I've started pairing them up. It's more fun for me that way, because then I feel like I get the entire piece of it. And I only do that with like 2. I did it in Scott Fishbowl as well with Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins. I don't always do it, but
it makes sense in that format because you're playing against 1,400 teams. So I think you definitely want to have a quarterback receiver tandem in that format.
Yeah. And so for this one, it was more for fun because I had Dak Prescott and I've been touting Michael Gallup. So, and again, we do these to do lots of different versions. Howard Bender is projected to finish last. He was just taking shares of Jordan Howard and having fun. We try to do this lots of different ways and build lots of different teams and see how we think it's going to work out. I think you and I are ranked right next to each other in the projected finish. So, but obviously one or the other of us will win this league.
Yeah, projected finish means nothing to me. I don't even like to look at it at all, because especially if it's a league you're playing out, your team's going to be completely different. You're going to drop 5 to 7 players. It's automatic. We all talk ourselves into how round 12, 13, 14, 15 picks are going to work out, and a lot of times it doesn't, and we're cutting those guys, and new players emerge off the waiver wire. Situations that we didn't foresee happening. So it happens like that in every sport. So I understand it's something to look at, it's talk about. I never even look at the projected standings.
But I do have to note you did take Antonio Brown in round 15. Throwing that dart, any idea right now where Antonio Brown might go? What's your best guess?
I don't know. We'll see. I mean, I think this was before the announcement of the
Of the
8-game
suspension.
suspension. So uh, it's hard to hold a guy for that long, especially if you have IR spots or COVID spots. I think it's a little bit easier in case you do get hip
Mm-hmm.
injuries. But 8 games is quite a long time. And the other thing that you have to take into account, what your league rule is, if they say, hey, the season becomes official after 9 weeks, if the season is stopped, then you kind of wasted a spot for a long time. So it's going to be an interesting strategy this year. So I don't know if I would take him now, knowing that it's 8 games. And again, he doesn't have a team right now either.
Yeah. I don't hate it though, because if there is a full season and you get the last 8 games out of Antonio Brown, you can probably get a lot more out of 8 games of Antonio Brown than you can 8 games of a lot of other people you would take in round 15. We're talking, Jalen Richard, Darrington Evans, Jarek McKinnon. Yeah, sure. Adrian Peterson. Antonio Brown's worth it, I think, at that point. But obviously, it's all risk reward.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's why it's like round 15. A lot of those guys are not going to work out. And if Antonio Brown plays, he's going to ball out. Now it's a question of does he sign with a team and can you be
Right.
patient enough to hold him for 8 games? You might be able to at the start, but if you start 0-2, 0-3, you can't
Be
think
tough.
about week 9 at that point. You have to worry about week 4.
Yeah, you have to get there. I do sort of think that he will sign now that they know what they're getting into. Every team knows that he's got 8 games. I think that was part of why he couldn't sign. They didn't know what they were going to get from him. And of course, the newest rumor is Tampa Bay, because Tom Brady enjoyed the, 1 game he played with Antonio Brown last year. So we'll see. Guys, we're already out of time. Time flies when you're having fun. I'm going to go check in on the Twins and Pirates game, and I'm sure you've got an NBA game that you've got some money on.
Yeah, it's not going well. So
Sorry.
the Kings are hitting every shot, so they can't
Well,
miss.
what are you going to do? Well, guys, enjoy your day. There's NBA, there's MLB. Keep your eyes on that opt-out list. Don't do any drafts in the next half hour. And we'll catch you next time.